Now, the latest from ITV News Meridian with Fred Dinage and Sangeeta Barbara.
Good evening, welcome to ITV News Meridian.
Tonight's headlines in the south. The Chief Executive of South East Coast Ambulance Service finally resigns after a damning report into deliberate delays.
Marching in memory of one of the deadliest crusades of World War I, 100 years after the Battle of Jutland.
And what a result after 4 days and hundreds of goals, how these amateur footballers played their way into the record books.
Good evening to you. The Chief Executive of the South East Coast Ambulance Service, who authorised deliberate delays to improve response times, has today resigned from his post.
Paul Sutton has been under mounting pressure to step down following a damning report into the pilot scheme, which put lives at risk.
In just a moment, we shall talk to our reporter Mel Blore, who's been following this story and is in our newsroom for us. But first, a reminder of how the scandal was uncovered.
It was a secret project that led to up to 20,000 ambulances being delayed, authorised by the Trust's Chief Executive, Paul Sutton. The aim to give operators an extra 10 minutes to assess calls by transferring some 111 cases to 999 control rooms. But patients were kept in the dark about the project, as were the operators and even the Trust's board. The scandal was exposed after whistleblowers spoke out about fears that patients had died because of the delays. At least 11 deaths have been linked to the scheme, which was introduced in December 2014, including that of a 60-year-old man from Sussex who had a heart attack and was forced to wait 35 minutes for an ambulance. The first of 3 reports on the project found fundamental failings in governance at the Trust. Another will analyse how many patients were affected by the delays. South East Coast Ambulance Service denies patients were harmed, saying some received better treatment. Its chairman, Tony Thorne, resigned in March, while Mr Sutton has been on mutually agreed leave. Mel Blore, ITV News.
Well, Mel joins us from our newsroom. So, Mel, that mutually agreed leave came to an end today then?
Yes, it did, Fred. South East Coast Ambulance Service announced this morning that Chief Executive Paul Sutton has now left the Trust to pursue other interests. It thanked Mr Sutton for his contribution to the developments and achievements of the Trust over the past 10 years and said that the process for finding his replacement will start immediately.
So, Mel, what's been the reaction then to the news today?
Well, we spoke to Health Watch Brighton, who have been keeping a close eye on the situation at CCAM, and they've told us they're not surprised by the resignation.
His chairman marched as soon as this issue first emerged, and the chief exec was put on gardening leave, so unsurprised that he's now left to pursue other interests, as the press release from CCAM suggests.
So the search for a new chief executive now begins. In the meantime, Geraint Davies will continue as acting CEO.
We shall watch and wait with interest. Mel Blore for now. Thank you.
There have been various high-profile cases in recent years of children being groomed and sexually exploited. But in Hampshire, police have now put the issue at the top of their agenda.
Yes, the force is trying a unique approach to raising awareness, as Emma Wilkinson explains.
This is a new way of trying to tackle child sexual exploitation. A concept based on a fictional girl called Alice who, like in the classic story, goes missing into a strange fantasy world. Becoming disconnected from normal life and associating with new people is an experience shared by many young victims who are in reality being sexually exploited.
Child sexual exploitation is a very sinister event which happens.
Any young person can fall victim to this kind of crime, but officers say it's very often a secondary abuse.
We see that children who are growing up in an environment where there's neglect or domestic abuse are often very marginalised, looking for affection, turn to other people for that affection, and they very quickly become exploited.
78% of victims in Hampshire are between 13 and 17 years old. Often exploitation happens within large groups of friends or associates. Sometimes older people prey on youngsters at parties. But many victims believe they are in relationships with those who are in fact exploiting them. The aim here is to help people spot the signs. And experts say early intervention is crucial.
Unless they are identified and then worked with, then that might be their understanding of how relationships work for the rest of their life. They might develop drug addictions, they might develop alcohol, mental health issues.
Child sexual exploitation is not a new crime, but this is a new approach to tackling it. The campaign will now start appearing online, on social media and in outdoor areas across the county. Emma Wilkinson, ITV News.
In other news, investigators are trying to find out what caused a fire at a landfill site in Ringwood. Crews from Hampshire and Dorset were called to Chatsworth Blue Haze site on Sunday evening.
And have you ever fancied testing out how fast you can go round Goodwood Racetrack? Well, this weekend's annual South Coast Rolls saw 800 people making their way round the 2.5-mile course on skates and scooters. 65 members of Centre Stage Productions Youth Theatre raised £2,000 towards their latest show, Starlight Express.
You're watching ITV News Meridian. For more on all of our stories, head to itv.com/Meridian. You can call us or get in touch via Facebook or Twitter.
Well, there's no doubt we are now a 24-hour society, and round-the-clock opening isn't just confined to our supermarkets.
No, indeed. In response to demand, many university libraries are now open all hours, with students cramming in revision through the night.
Christine Alsford went to the University of Southampton to find out exactly what goes on around the clock.
It's the height of the exam season, and for university libraries, it's the busiest time of year. The foyer of the Hartley Library at the University of Southampton is a hive of activity as the doors stay open around the clock.
The exams are next week, starting next week, and yeah, the pressure is there.
Not confident yet. I'm hoping something will click. I'm so tired.
Hilm is flat out on an economics assignment. He hasn't left the library for 2 days solid. His exhausted workmate Collar takes a nap as they work in a side room.
Can I just wake you up?
Yeah. Oh my God. You alright?
Have you been here all night?
Yeah, this is the second night on the bounce. It's a 4,000-word report, so just trying to get it done, really.
I've had about 3 hours of sleep over the past 2 days.
Have you done this 2-day thing before, or is this a
No,
first?
this is a very new experience, so yeah, it's been eye-opening.
Or eye-closing?
Yeah.
Not everyone's leaving it to the last minute. Katie Morrie is highly organised and likes to make an early start.
It's now 7:28 a.m. It's best to come either really early or really late. If you get here about 10 o'clock, you can hardly find a space.
It's demand from students that has resulted in 24-hour opening here and elsewhere. The flexibility it offers is popular.
I think it's really good. People have different learning patterns and learning times.
You're a daytime, not a night bird there?
No, I'm a daytime. Yeah, none of that night business. Sleep, I need sleep.
But does having a library that never closes increase the pressure to cram and study all hours of the day and night?
It's a matter of choice. It's a matter of enabling people to work at the times when they want and have access to the facilities here. They invest time and they invest money in their study, and they want to do the best that they can.
And for some, that means peace and quiet as they burn the midnight oil.
Yeah, I've been here 15 hours out of the last 24 hours.
Over 12 hours, yeah.
How do you stay awake?
I take a lot of sugar and sweets, so I'm always very hyper at night.
I'm shaking a bit, I just had a few coffees.
Well, it's now just after 3 in the morning, and I'm amazed how many students are still here. I'm just going to do a quick head count to find out exactly how many.
1, 2, 3, 83, 84, 149, 150, 151. You look really tired.
Oh, I am. I'm ready to fall asleep now.
I finish tomorrow, finally, after the whole 3 years, so I sleep when I'm done.
When you feel people rushing in the morning, that's when you feel I need to go, because everyone's so fresh and you're just like, I need to leave.
Before they know it, bedtime beckons for the hardcore all-nighters and they finally head for home. Most, of course, will be doing it all over again tomorrow. Christine Osford, ITV News.
I feel exhausted watching them.
I know, good luck to you all.
But now, a century ago today, one of the deadliest naval battles ever fought was taking place.
Yes, 250 British and German ships and 100,000 sailors were involved in the Battle of Jutland in the North Sea off Denmark. Today, those who fought have been remembered at ceremonies across the country.
Indeed, in South Sea, 100 sailors led by the Collingwood Band of the Royal Marines marched to the Naval War Memorial on the Common, where a ceremony paid tribute to the thousands of men from the city who lost their lives.
Some of their relatives have also been remembering by loaning family artefacts to a new exhibition about the battle. Richard Jones has been speaking to some of them.
Jutland was the first major naval battle involving battleships bristling with guns and manned by hundreds of sailors. As a result, death was on an horrific scale. Ships hit by enemy fire exploded and sunk within minutes, their entire crews lost to the deep. Of the 6,000 British sailors who died in 36 hours of battle, a third were based in Portsmouth. Their names are inscribed on the Naval War Memorial here on Southsea Common. Among them is Ernest John Reed, a gunner who went down on HMS Invincible, along with 1,000 others. Toby Reed has been researching his family history and the impact his grandfather's death had on those left back at home.
Once my grandfather died, basically my dad was sent to Southampton to be with his auntie who brought him up for his childhood, because his mother had 2 other children to bring up, and it was just a big loss to the family as a whole, and you know, in those times it was just difficult for them to survive, sort of thing.
Sometimes even those who survived Jutland unscathed only did so by chance. Jock McGrigor's father was on board HMS Malaya when it was hit, sending a piece of shrapnel straight towards him.
But luckily it hit the telescope and dented it, but saved his life. That was lucky for me, presumably, because I was later born. But the interesting point is that from a lieutenant in the Battle of Jutland, my father stayed on in the Navy and finally ended up as the First Sea Lord in the first part of the 1950s.
Jock inherited the life-saving telescope, and it's now on display in a new exhibition about Jutland at Portsmouth Historic Dockyard. Also there are the dress uniform and ceremonial sword belonging to Admiral John Jellicoe, who led the British fleet. His grandson says he knew little about the battle or about his grandfather until he started writing about it.
He died in 1935, so I never got a chance to meet him. And stupidly, as we all do, I never really sat down with my father and said, look, you know, talk me through his life and talk me through your days with him. I knew that there was a lot of name recognition and there was always the association of Jellicoe and Jutland. But to be very honest, I didn't know very much about it. Until really, probably about 6 years ago when I started writing the book, and I was sort of challenged to do that.
Many families in Britain would have been touched by Jutland through the death or injury of a relative or a friend. Some of them have been prompted by the anniversary to look back and dig deeper into the past.
I'm extremely proud that my grandfather was involved in it, because the sacrifice that he and all those other thousands of other sailors made has directly affected how we live in today. I've got an 8-year-old daughter and it's really important for me that she understands the sacrifice that these, her own great-granddad and all these other thousands of other people made.
If Toby succeeds, the bloody sacrifice of Jutland will be remembered, not just for the sheer scale of loss, but as the key battle that helped to win the First World War. Richard Jones, ITV News.
Well, from remembering history to making history now, and a group of amateur footballers entered the record books last night after completing the world's longest match ever.
Yes, it involved 108 hours of goals, saves, shots and tackles, and a few more blisters as well.
The final score, wait for it, Fred, 872 to 1,009.
Close then.
Close, yeah. Andy Dickinson was in the stands.
This was the kick-off, a game beginning at 6 a.m. last Thursday morning, and this was the climax 105 hours later. Two teams of footballers looking decidedly worse for wear, but breaking a world record.
It feels absolutely incredible. It's something that is difficult to put into words. These guys are immense. They're absolutely immense.
A towering achievement, the equivalent of playing 72 normal games back-to-back, or almost 2 entire Premier League seasons. This match was staged in memory of 3 Sussex players. Matt Chaplin, who died of a cardiac arrest 3 years ago, and Jacob Short and Matt Grimstone, killed in the Shoreham air crash last August.
I've said, before, it's something that Matt would have definitely have done, and to do this for him and Jacob and Matt Chaplin as well, it's something special.
We wanted to do something to keep their name out there and in those record books. It's been a phenomenal experience, but just 10 times harder than anyone expected. There's no amount of training that you could do for an event like this, but we're here today and we've managed to get through it.
In all, 36 players, so 2 standard squads of 18, have taken on this gargantuan challenge over the last 5 days and nights. 22 players on the pitch at all times, the subs not even allowed to leave the ground, sleeping here in tents.
Partially it's just down to adrenaline, just wanting to get through it. But the physios we've had here have done an amazing job. Literally, they're here 24/7, stitching us back together. We're literally being held together by tape.
It's very knackering, but when you have a group of boys like this and the support that we've had from guys in the community and all around the country and sometimes the world, and it's an unbelievable feeling.
6 years ago, the record sat at a mere 41 hours. Now that's been almost trebled. The hard-fought proceeds going to the British Heart Foundation and a permanent memorial for the 3 men it honoured. Andy Dickinson, ITV News, Lancing.
And they should be so proud,
Well
shouldn't
done.
they be? Well done. Simon's with us now. Simon, it's June tomorrow.
I know, how scary is that? Where's the year gone?
Yeah. Yes.
And more scary than the fact the month changes, tomorrow is meteorologically the start of summer.
Is it?
So, let's have a look at the last month of spring then. Statistically, Andrew Cook in Park Gate, for rainfall luck, your average May rainfall 57.2 millimetres. What do you reckon?
I think lower.
Lower, 42.9, 75% of the usual. Doesn't include today's values though. Sunshine, lovely picture from Nick Lucas in Mudderford. You may average 194.6 hours. What do you think?
Higher?
High, very cautious higher, yeah, 177.1.
Oh,
yep,
no.
sunnier than normal. And temperature, oh no, that's lower.
Lower, that's what I
Temperature,
thought.
Sylvia Ruffles, lovely picture of linseed oil plant. You may average 11.7 Celsius. May 26, I'll put it up already, 12 and a half. It's all gone horribly wrong. But we were something than normal. So, yeah. That's all you need to know.
You made a complete mess of it, didn't
yeah, and then made it worse.
But let's hope.
But it doesn't matter.
Let's hope the weather forecast is better. Here he is, Simon Parkin.
From blizzards to pool, driving through Europe. Eurotunnel the Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian weather.
Now, I just hope you like the colour grey, because we're going to see more than our fair share of it over the next couple of days. An awful lot of gloom to look forward to. Mind you, today we had quite heavy rain too, driven on by low pressure out towards the east. Well, that rain band fizzling away, so some light patchy stuff as we head through the next 24 hours, but a lot of dry weather as well. But you can't move for cloud. Plenty of it sitting on top of us. That's good, because it means that the temperatures overnight tonight stay fairly mild, 11 or 12 the low. But the rain, light and patchy for the most part, perhaps an odd heavier burst here and there, and also some mist and murk developing as well. So any mist and fog will clear tomorrow morning. A lot of low cloud to wake up to, so grey start to a generally grey day. If you're very lucky, there might be an occasional glimpse of brightness as the day goes on. If you're very unlucky, there might be a spit or spot of drizzly rain, but a lot of us going to stay dry. Not desperately warm though, 16, 17 the high tomorrow, and still with a cool northerly breeze. As for your high tide times, well, you can see in Bognor, 8:30 in the morning, just after 9 in the evening. Then it's more of the same on Thursday, generally dry but mostly cloudy, brightening up on Friday, but as the sun comes out, we'll see some showers.
Eurotunnel the Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
Keeping a close eye on summer. The Pollen Count, sponsored by Ilogy Eye Drops.
Well, the good news about a bit of rain is that it does keep the grass pollen in check. So even with a bit of brightness tomorrow, we're looking at levels being moderate at their highest. And that'll be the same plan as we head through the next few days too.
And that's how we look this Tuesday evening. In just a moment, we've got the ITV Evening News with Charlene White and Alistair Stewart.
I shall have our late news. Join me if you can. But for now, from the team here at ITV Meridian, thanks very much for watching. Take care.
Bye-bye.